Hi guys, it's Tavis Taylor. Come on in. We have some exciting information to share tonight. I'm going to try to get my Periscope up and running. Hi guys, let me know that you're in. Hey Tasha. Hey Miss Shantae, good to see you. Thank you for coming on. We are going to get started, and I am so excited about our topic for tonight. Let me try to get my Periscope going. It's a little difficult. Hi, Miss Nancy. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be so exciting tonight, and I think it's going to be exciting for parents. It really should be exciting for parents. If you are parenting a teen, this is definitely a message for you. Do me a favor and share on your Facebook or your Periscope. Go ahead and share for me so that others can see what's going on and they can be privy to the information. I'll give people a couple of seconds to come on because I'm so excited about this topic. This topic is very near and dear to me. And I do have a story to tell you because most people know that I am very bold, but I do have a story to tell you. Let me get this, swipe down and stop. Oh. Okay, I'm trying to get my Periscope running. Okay, so it's up too. So my name is Tavis Taylor, and I have Tavis Taylor Talks, but I am the transparent mom. I came up with this title because I'm a transparent person anyway. And most people say I'm kind of mommified, you know, I'm everybody's mom, but I am the transparent mom. And I think in this season in our lives, we have to be transparent. I know I am. And when it comes to parenting, there are so many things that mothers and parents, fathers too, suffer in silence. We suffer in silence when we're raising our teens, when we're raising our children. There are some people who have questions. They don't have anywhere to go. There's a lot going on. I remember I took he's 19 now, but my 16-year-old to the doctor. And his doctor said, "How old are you?" And she said 16, and I said, "Well, he's 16. And she said, "Oh, all you can do is pray and cry. That's all you can do." And she gave me some examples of some things she had to deal with her child. Now, what's interesting for me is ever since I was, when I was pregnant with Tyler, I made it a commitment that each year for his birthday, I would look and see what I needed to know about his age, what was coming up, because I didn't want to be frustrated. And so it's been 19 years and I still check and see what are the scientists saying about parenting at a particular age. Well, check this out. Last week, I got this in the mail. This is some advertisement from a church that they're doing this series. Well, it started on September the 10th. Parental insomnia. And so the conversation about parenting, the transparent conversation about parenting, it's definitely going on. And then I found this. I was in Publix, and I found this where Time Magazine has an entire magazine dedicated to the science to childhood. Now, I'm also the transparent mom because I think that even with the clients that I see, I am Tavis Taylor, I am your transparent mom, but I'm also a life coach and a certified Christian counselor. And I believe that all roads lead to childhood. So anytime I have a client, you know, there's a questionnaire that they ask, and what you do as a child has a bearing on you as an adult. But tonight, we are going to discuss the teenage brain. I have a question for you, and I want to see some answers. I want to hear what you have to say. Have you ever asked your teen a question? And this is for parents of teens or preteens. Have you ever asked your teen a question? Have you ever asked your teen a question or say, "Go in the kitchen and get me a paper towel"? And by the time your teen gets to the kitchen and comes back, they're just like, "What did you ask me to get again?" And you fuss them out and say, "You heard what I told you. You just not listen to me. You don't ever listen to me." Well, guess what? From the time that you directed your teen to do something, to that other point, they just did not remember. And that is because the wiring of the brain is totally different. Well, what scientists have found out, like recently, there was this one scientist who, she is a scientist, and her son, when he was up to 10 or 11, he was doing great. And she said she didn't realize that she had a science experiment in her house, because it's almost like when he turned a certain age, those teen years, he turned into a different child, which led her and some more scientists to study the teen brain. When I tell you, it is so exciting, because you have to know what's going on with your teen. Or else, let me tell you something. I'm just going to be the transparent mom. You will want to kill your teen if you don't understand that they just don't know. Their reasoning skills are not there. I'll tell y'all this true story. A few years ago, my son played football with Monroe area. And the two teams, that one team came off the bench, the other team came off the bench, and it was just chaos. Well, me being the transparent mom, and then realize it, I took studies on the brain to the coach and said, you really need to take this to the Georgia Association of School, whatever, because they were just in fight or flight mode. They didn't have a choice. That's their only response, because we're expecting their frontal lobe, and I'll get into that, to operate when in fact, only the part of their brain that knows to protect itself is active. And that is I call it the amygdala. Some say amygdala. It's the amygdala. That's the only part of the brain that's active. So you've got a study in Time magazine. You got churches that are doing this, talking about kids. But previous studies have gotten it wrong. They said that there was a preconceived notion. And the scientist, this particular scientist, studies at, because I want to make sure that I give you pertinent information, the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania. So these are credentialed scientists who have studied the brain. So the information that I give you is from credentialed scientists who have studied the brain, okay? And of course, I'm going to give you some real life situations that I've noticed, that I've witnessed. But they're saying that the preconceived notions of teens just being hormonal, what they go through is not just hormones. Thank you, Beverly. I appreciate that. What they go through is more than hormones. And what they've done is they've done advanced brain imagery that reveals that the teen brain is what they call is full of plasticity, meaning that it can change and adapt to whatever environment that they're in. Now, I'm not giving you this information for you to say, oh, just let my child do whatever. No, you still have to direct them and tell them right from wrong. But I want you to have a different level of understanding when you're talking to your teen, because wherever they are, they pretty much become chameleons. Some people call them followers. Some people but this is the science of it. It's the science of it. Now, when we talk about the teen brain, I'm going to show you this picture, and I love this picture. I don't know if you guys can see this, of an adolescent brain. And if you notice this is such a great thing, because their memory and remembering to do their homework is such a small portion down in the bottom, I guess that would be your right-hand corner, such a small portion of their brain and what they remember. So you have an adult brain and you have a teen brain, and we're expecting the teen brain to operate like an adult brain, when in fact sometimes some of our brains need to we need to do something with our own brain. So when you look at an adult brain, the frontal lobe, that's the lobe for reasoning, judgment, decision making, problem solving, impulse control, and emotions and emotional control. So that part is not developed in a teen. It's just not there. Most of the times, I think it's in their 20s, sometimes in their 30s, before the reasoning part of the brain develops. And the frontal lobe of a teen, though, is undeveloped. It's underdeveloped. It's the last part of the brain that matures. So for a point of clarification, the reasoning part of a teen's brain or human brain is the last part of the brain to develop. This sometimes happens around the age of 24 years old. Now, of course, males differ from females, but once again, the frontal lobe, the reasoning part of your brain, develops when you are in your 20s. And it's very important that you understand that, because we typically expect our teens, and I don't want to, like I said, I'm not giving you this information so that you can let your teen do anything. I'm giving you this information so that you can guide your teen in the right direction. So if you understand today that your teen's brain that cannot comprehend, hey Lee, that cannot comprehend what you are saying. If you understand today that your teen brain, your teen's reasoning skills are off filter, then maybe you can say, okay, how do I communicate this with them? How can I create a situation or an environment so that my teen will listen? How can I develop a better relationship with my teen? Now, this is science. This is science. The Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart. You need science as well, as I think the Bible and science can collide. And yes, train them up. But hey Amelia, but you get trained on what you're dealing with. And for me, I've always looked at and read information because I didn't want to be incompetent, because I'm a single mother. And as a single mother, I never wanted to feel like, okay, it's because of this, it's because of that. I just wanted to look and see what is the norm, or what is the scale that my son can put. What are the pros and the cons of my son being at this age, and then that age, and then that age. And hey, Monica, that helped me. I'm just giving y'all what helped me. And what else? Something else you have to understand about the teen brain is the amygdala. Let's talk about that. It is responsible for emotional and impulsive responses. Check this out. Okay. I'm so excited about this part. Look at this. How many of you have had to say, who do you think you're talking to your child? To your child. I don't care how old your child is now. How many of you have had to say, when you say, go sit down, or go do this, or clean your room, and they say, but I did. How many of you have had to say, who do you think you're talking to? How many? Okay. I'll wait. Because guess what? Your child, your teen, was only reacting with their amygdala, their fight or flight, their protection, this is all I know. That's why a lot of teens are mad. They just mad. They just mad. And you're like, what are you so mad about? Why are you so angry? Yes. So now y'all let me tell you something. And I'm not going to cry about this, especially with single mothers. We blame ourselves for so much stuff. And when our teen starts acting crazy, I would love to do a study to know the parents who understand their child's brain, and the parents who just feel like my mama said shut up and you should shut up too. Because there are reasons why these things are happening. Now, here is the thing. I would be the first to tell you, you're going to get this information, and you're going to be tried. And you're going to fail the test the first 6 times. But eventually, you will know how to deal with your teen, because no teen should be left behind. I'm tired of seeing rest in peace. I'm tired of seeing, our little brown boys, or any boys for that matter, being arrested, our girls, and all these things that are happening. No teen should be left behind. And if you get the tools that you need to even help, just a little bit, just to help just a little bit. I am Tavis Taylor. I am your transparent mom, and we are discussing the teen brain today in hopes that it will help you, in hopes that it will give you what you need to be a more effective mother in redirecting your children. I will tell you this. Once you understand the risk and the behaviors that your teen undergoes, once you understand what they're dealing with, then you can find you some tools to help you deal with them. Doesn't mean you're not going to have to say, don't disrespect me. No, ma'am. There's boundaries. Does it mean you're not going to have to probably lay hands? Well, I don't know what your disciplinary means of disciplinarian is. I don't know what you do to discipline your child. This does not mean that, but we have to understand. We have to understand. Last week we talked about things that make you ways to ruin your relationship with your child. This week we're giving you some tools to help you understand your child and the anger and the feelings and the emotions that they're going through. And if you can just understand that their brain does not grasp what you are saying, the scientists have said the best way to get through this, excuse me, and helping teens to deal with their emotions, excuse me, is to lead by example. Yep. When you're angry, what do you do? When you're upset as a parent, how do you handle it? Do you shut down and say, I'm just not going to say anything because if I say something, I'm going to hurt her or I'm going to hurt him? Did you know that your child is watching how you deal with your anger, and that's the way your child will deal with their anger? Parenting, when you're parenting, you have to be so conscious. Because if you don't watch it, your children will be grown telling you all the things you did wrong instead of half and half, or even, well, you got this right, but you got that wrong. What we have to understand is kids have risky behavior. And a lot of their behavior is not because they're stupid. It's not because they're crazy. It's because they just don't have the capability to think right. I know that's depressing. I know that's sad because you want to believe that your child is different. And for some people, they will be different. Some people, I don't know. This may not apply this won't apply to everybody. I know some friends who have teens who are perfect, who they don't have to yell at, they don't have to argue with, they don't have to do anything with. I am just in awe at them. But some of us as parents, I know that when my son was that 16, 17, 15, 16, I had to contend with some of these things. And that's really what made me start studying the teenage brain. As a matter of fact, I studied it when he was 13 because I needed to understand so that I wouldn't go crazy. You have to understand that teens want to establish themselves as individuals. They want to show their independence. Oh, I can do this, I can drive, I can do all these things, but their brain has not developed. I don't know how many times I've told my son, your frontal lobe is not even developed, baby. You don't really know what you want to do. But they feel like they feel like they know. But you as a parent must understand that they may and they may not know. A stressful situation in the amygdala. A teenager will respond to a message or behavior inappropriately. It's called an amygdala response. It's because they try to avoid stressful situations. They don't really want to be bothered. They'll either shut down or they'll lash out. They'll shut down or lash out. It is the amygdala. If you don't know, I want you to study this. It's amygdala. Somebody type that in. The amygdala. amygdala. I can't tell you how many times I have asked God to overrule science and mature both of my boys' frontal lobe. I prayed that prayer. I'm sorry, y'all. I have. So what does this mean for parents? I'm glad you asked. Thank you, Beverly. Understanding your teen's brain, it helps you to understand their behavior and their responses. And you may not get it right the first time. You may not understand it at first. But if you know what? He's not rational because he doesn't know how to be rational. That's why the Bible says train up the child in the way it should go. It didn't say unless it's a rebellious teen, unless it's a disobedient teen, unless, it doesn't say any of that. It says train up the child in the way it should go. By understanding the teenage brain, it helps us to understand why they participate in risk-taking. And don't say, oh my God, you're so stupid. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you did that. You're just so stupid. Don't say that. And if you say it, catch yourself. And if you have said it, Don't be too big to go back and apologize and say, I just didn't understand you. Because then that's another thing you're teaching your child. You're teaching them how to apologize. With the knowledge we need to teach adolescents coping strategies. So now that you know this, and now that you know what's going on with the brain, scientists say you really need to teach them what's going on with them. Because a lot of times teens don't know what's going on with them. They don't know. Did you know? Did you know what was going on with you when you were a teen? Did you understand what was going on with you when you were a teen? Do you wish somebody would have sat you down and said, you know what? You're feeling this way because your brain just isn't developed, but you're going to be okay. We really didn't have that. And so you have a lot of angry teens running around here because they don't understand themselves. We don't understand them, and we're expecting things out of them that they don't know how to express. We don't know how to help them express it. And you have a lot of people, a lot of teens who are finding themselves in circles and cliques trying to be understood because we don't understand them at home. And amen, Amelia. Thank you for your honesty. Because we don't understand them at home. Because we're not saying to them, you know what? Let's just create this open environment where you can come and you can tell me anything. And I will tell you this, teens listen. That's why, and now, let me see what scientist said that. One of the scientists specifically said that I think it is Jay Gilead, he's a professor of psychiatry at the University of California. He specifically said the best way to help your teens with their emotions is to be the example. I will tell you, I didn't get it all right all the time. I will tell you, I did not get it right all the time. I didn't. But I will tell you that apologizing has never been my issue. I don't mind apologizing. And you shouldn't mind apologizing to your seed either. Guess what? You are you're raising somebody's future wife or somebody's future son. Now, do you want to get phone calls that say, come get your son, come get your daughter? Or do you want to, are you willing to look into what is going on inside my child's brain? We Google everything else. We can Google why is my child so angry? And then you couple that, the brain, with maybe they don't have the right shoes. Maybe they're failing in school. Maybe they got a lot of other stuff going on. Maybe their dad in there. Maybe their mom in there. Maybe their mom and dad both are there, but they just don't like them either because they don't understand, because they don't listen. And then in this day and age, you've got the teen brain along with social media. Our teens are dealing with so much. And I ask that you open up a dialogue with your teen. First of all, that you read about the brain. I'm actually going to do a class for parents and teens and their child. Monica Parrott. I'm actually going to do a class for that, because if you get that level of communication going, I got a text from Tyler today. We had a nice dialogue today. But I try to be open. I try to listen to the music that I don't like if he says listen to me. I try to do that simply because there are some things I wish was done with me. Take the time out. Take the time out to study your teen. Take the time out to, if you develop a relationship of understanding their brain instead of judging their brain, it's almost like what's happening is when they're not understood, it's like it's a volcano. You're packing it all on top of each other. You're packing it all on top of each other. I'm going to give you about 5 ways to deal with this, and 5 ways that I think you can cope with your teen's brain. Number 1, have a conversation with them. Just have an open conversation with them. Ask them, what can I do differently? Number 2, take my class in a couple of weeks that's coming up. Because you've got to learn how to communicate with them and speak their language. Number 3, as a parent, you have to ask for forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself on their conception, their birth, and all the things that are not going right. Forgive yourself. Because if you don't forgive yourself, you're packing your stuff on top of their stuff. Number 4, include the other parent if you can, or even the village. If it's grandmama, if it's auntie, if it's uncle, whoever is helping you raise your child, you have to include them. Because it's not going to do any good if it's just you, but they're at grandmama's house a lot, or they're at Auntie Patsy's house a lot. You've got to include the entire support system. And I promise you, these tools are so effective. They were. And number 5, study your children. Study their behaviors, study when things change, study their sleep patterns. Sleep patterns and socialization, that's an entirely different Tuesday night session. Because there are ways to help your teen have a more effective teen life, so to speak. And there are ways to do this so that you don't go crazy. I'll never forget, I was with some people. I think I told this story the last time, and I got permission from the young lady to tell this story. Because we're going to deal with teen depression. We are going to deal with teen depression too. But I was talking to a group of ladies, and their children don't go through any of this stuff. You know, they did everything right, and I guess, I don't know. But she confided about a month or 2 later, maybe 3 months. I don't know the time frame directly, but she said to me that she understood when I was asking the questions or talking about parenting. I've been doing this since 2004. Thank you, Monica. And she said, I knew what you were talking about was true. She said, because I had dealt with my son, and I don't know if he attempted suicide or told her he thought about suicide, but she had to deal with that with her son. It was devastating. Because as parents, we think we're doing everything right. And you're not. Just because your teens go through this, it does not mean you're doing something wrong. It means that it could possibly mean that they have a teen brain, that their amygdala is truly just taking a hold of them. They're trying to find their identity. And so you have this great big ball of anger in our teens that nobody is addressing. Everybody is saying just pray about. Now, I believe in prayer. Don't get it twisted, because I am the queen of doing a 21-day fast for your children, and we will do that. But after you fast and after you pray, God has given us tools here on earth to use. Talk to your children. Get educated. Forgive yourself. Include your support system. I will tell you, it has taken a village to raise my boys. And my oldest son, we all finally got on one accord. And when I tell you, we have a family text before we send money to him in college. We have a family text. We communicate. And with all of us being on one accord, it is such a big difference in helping. He's at the next level. He's in college, but it's such a big difference. You have to include the other people who are helping you raise your children. And then study your kids. Study their behaviors. Study what's going on with them. Remember, and I'm going to sum this up. Remember, the teen brain is an interesting brain. They're not crazy. The previous studies have said, you know what, it's just hormones. It's just hormones. And they didn't say that it's not hormones, but it's not only hormones. The frontal lobe, which is the reasoning part of the brain, is not developed in your teen. We are asking them to make decisions and to make right decisions off of something that they don't know how to do. Their brain isn't developed yet. The frontal lobe, once again, is the reasoning part of the brain. It controls the judgment, the decision making, the reasoning, the problem solving, the impulse, emotions, and emotion control. It may not develop in your teen until they're 24 years old or even later. Stop saying, how could you be so stupid? Stop saying, why did you make that decision? Stop saying, I can't believe you did. And involve yourselves in their lives enough that you understand that God has given you those children to raise. And the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go. And when they get older, they will not depart. I believe that was put in there because all that in between the teen years and them trying to get it, our definition of right, Their frontal lobe has to have time to develop. And once their frontal lobe develop, which may not be until 24 or later, then that's when they start making better decisions. They don't have the capacity. Their amygdala, which is the part of the brain, the fight or flight part of their brain, the part of their brain that tells them, let's go hang out with my friends. Okay, I'm going to get in this car. So what if they're robbing the bank? I'm not in there with them, so it's not me robbing the bank. Their reasoning skills are off. Be careful when you judge your children. Be careful when you think, well, I raised you right and I did this and I did this and I did that. Some children don't go crazy at 16 or 17. Some of them may hit 21 and quit college on a full scholarship, or 24 and quit college on a full scholarship, and you're like, what are you thinking? They're not. They don't have the capacity to think the way that we do when we're at 40. Heck, we didn't think the way that we think now. We made a lot of mistakes too. I am Tavis Taylor with Tavis Taylor Talks. I am your transparent mom, and we have discussed the teen brain and anger, and know that your child's frontal lobe at a teenage age is not developed yet. So yes, you may ask your teen to go to the kitchen and get you a paper towel, and they may come back and say, what did you ask me to get? No, they were not ignoring you. That is just how they're wired at that age. This is Tavis Taylor with Tavis Taylor Talks, and everybody knows that Tavis Taylor always has something to talk about. Thank you guys for joining me.